Let's get ready for Monday Mortgage Minute with your hosts, Tom McNamara and Bruce Woodburn.
All right. Happy Monday to you.
Yes, sir. It is Monday.
Hey, we got a lot to talk about today because every day is a new day in the whole world of Trump, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There the
It's
announcements
amazing.
out there at Davos last week.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible stuff. I don't know. Some people he made really happy, and I think he pissed the rest of the world off. But, he is Trump, and that's the way he operates.
He definitely does do that. He has a way to piss a lot of people off.
Well, he comes in hard and just like, we're going to just do this, and this is the way it is. And then after it sinks in, then he negotiates the thing out, and it ends up working out for him.
Yeah. So one of the things that he started throwing out recently is stopping corporations from buying single family residences, right?
Yep.
It's interesting because, first of all, he took that idea, right, from people on the left. That has been a talking point that corporations are ruining housing in America. Corporations are evil, blah, 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 which has a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth there.
Some truths.
Yeah, there's truth in there, whatever, right? But he just rips it away from them and says, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Let's ban that. And now all of a sudden, what are they doing? Oh, it's not going to be enough.
No, they can't do that.
Right? So I find that ironic. But I'm looking at it from like my perspective as a real estate agent, my perspective as an investor, and my perspective as a dad who's got 3 kids that need housing, right?
Right. So I don't know if it's going to affect the average person that buys investment properties in like a name of an LLC. I think it's for these companies that own more than 1,000 homes.
For sure. But in certain markets, those mega investors have been really driving the market. For instance, especially where we are here in Orlando and Tampa, ballpark 14 to 16%, right, of all of the rental properties are owned by these mega corporations. And
when you think of that 14 to 15%, what does that do? They can control rental prices. They can control purchase prices.
Correct. Yeah, they have a massive impact. Now you go out in the middle of the country into Des Moines or, Springfield, Missouri, they have no impact. They don't even, if they have a property, I'd be surprised.
Right.
But Atlanta is actually kind of the epicenter. I think they have like 27%, if I remember right.
That's an insane amount of power.
It is. And they were buying a bunch over the last few years. Now, recently they've started selling off. They're starting to sell off. And the reason they're selling off is because it makes more sense for them. Let's say in a large area like the Orlando area, right? Orlando's an hour from Orlando, as we all know. And them having to coordinate all these people to go around and do service at all these different locations, it's got a lot of inefficiency.
Sure.
So what they've started to do is actually do build to rent. Right. They're either developing entire communities and building
buying bulk homes from builders,
or they're going to the builders that maybe have excess inventory that they haven't been able to sell off, and they're buying 20, 30, 40 units at a time. Right. But it makes
more.
They're doing purpose-built entire communities, right? Forget having anybody else in there. They got all of it, right? It's almost like an apartment complex. It's just they're built like single-family homes. That's more efficient for them. So they've started to sell off anyway. So I think this whole banning them from buying it is kind of
well, I don't know how much of an impact it'll have, but at the end of the day, the things that Trump does and the things that he's trying to do, none of these things are going to move the needle for home ownership.
Well,
they're small needle movers.
They are. And they're hitting the wrong side.
The 50-year mortgage, the banning corporations from buying it. Yes, can it help? But it all will help if we add it all together. But one thing is not going to make a big difference.
No. But, and it's also, I think it's at least for the majority of the country, it's hitting the wrong side of the equation. It's hitting the demand side, right? So it's creating more demand. Let's give people money for down payments. Let's make it easier to buy. Let's lower interest rates. All good things, right?
Very good.
For me to sell homes. But, the real needle mover is going to be getting builders to build more affordable homes, right? you look at what they're building these days. I think 2,600 square foot is the average, right?
Right.
A starter home should be 14 to
Well,
1,600.
relaxing regulations, relaxing impact fees, but those are local things. The federal government has no control over that stuff.
Well, you say that, but DeSantis started the no property tax movement recently, right? There's 5 or 6 other states now, Georgia, Texas, and somebody in the Midwest, I forget, have all started like, hey, Ohio.
We're about it.
Let's talk about this. And then what did Trump say recently? Yeah, property taxes should be unconstitutional. Get rid of them.
And
Again, that kind of stuff, it could impact us all nationally. He
absolutely.
had one really interesting idea, and I haven't completely wrapped my mind around it yet, so we can have a conversation. But the idea of buying a home with your 401k.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah. So it was an interesting idea. And, of course, as soon as you say it, everybody says, oh, you could already do that. Well, no, you can't. Right.
well, you could get a hardship loan.
You can
for
get
your
a
down
hardship.
payment.
Well, you can get a hardship withdrawal and pay money, right? You pay
Right.
a penalty and you pay taxes, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to pull out 50 grand, you're going to pay, 8 grand in taxes and penalties, right? Maybe 10. So you don't really get 50 grand. You could borrow money, right? You could do a withdrawal, or not a withdrawal, but a loan.
You can only withdraw from an active 401k or borrow from an active 401k. You cannot borrow from a 401k that was rolled over. No.
If it's rolled over into a new 401k, you can.
If
But-
it's rolled into the one 401k, but most of them are not. You can only borrow from an active 401k from a company that you still work for.
Yes. But you could, if you roll the money into that 401k, then you can still do it. But that's a detail. So, but you can borrow up to 50 grand. The problem is you have to pay a reasonable interest rate, which is usually 5 to 7%, right?
Yep.
It matches. So you're going to pay that, but you have to pay it off. You have to pay it back in 5 years.
Right.
So, you're paying an extra grand a month on a $50,000 loan from your own 401k. You're paying a grand a month.
Yep.
Right. Back towards it, which is fine if you can afford it, but that has to be calculated now. It's
So this idea behind what Trump is proposing is there would not be those restrictions.
correct. So there's 2 things that have been floated. One is just eliminating the penalty, which is
Yep.
cool, right? But you still pay the tax, so not as cool, right? And then, of course, that ruins your long-term investing in your 401k, right? Which may or may not be a huge factor, but that's something to consider. The part that I found interesting, and this is the part that I haven't completely wrapped my mind around, is the idea of basically partnering with your 401k. So your 401k would put down the down payment, let's say 10% of what you're buying, and your 401k owns 10% of your home.
Just like a self-directed IRA.
Well, it is, but with a self-directed IRA, you can't legally live in it.
No, you can't live in it. That's
This would be your primary residence, allowing you to live in it, right?
so it's leveraging it, and the 401k owns it, and the 401k gets paid back when you sell it.
Correct. That's right. The 401k owns it, shares in the equity, right? So if you buy a $500,000 house and it increases to $1 million, when you sell it, the 401k gets 10% of the gains, right?
Right.
There's a lot of questions around that, right? Because when you buy inside an IRA or 401k, all the money for repairs and expenses are supposed to come out of that. So is that going to be the case? There's a lot of details, but I think it's I think that is probably the most brilliant idea.
I love that idea. But here's the thing. I'm in the business of helping people become homeowners. And you are too. One of the biggest struggles people have is coming up with the down payment. Not everybody's got a rich relative that they can tap into.
Absolutely.
And they look at that and they go, you know what? I got $25,000 in my 401k. And I'll ask them, well, what kind of rate of return are you getting on that? I don't know. Nobody knows. They don't even know. They don't even know. Right. But how much are you paying for rent? How much of your rent is really interest? All of it. 100% of it is interest. You're not getting anything for it. So I don't care if you don't have a home, you should use your 401k to buy a home. Then start building that 401k up. Now, whether you borrow from it, withdraw from it, I think if we withdraw from it without penalties would be absolutely amazing.
I think it would be great. I think they should remove the taxes from it too. right?
Yeah.
Again, only if you're buying a home,
Yeah.
and probably only if you're a first-time home buyer.
First home.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree. And
You
I
know,
think that would help homeownership immensely.
I
Absolutely.
think it would.
So I think that overall, I think the 401k thing is a good idea. They just have to iron out how that's going to work. The whole idea behind corporations buying rental properties, you know what? I think that it maybe should be curbed, but I don't think it'll ever get through the courts. I just don't know how you can stymie capitalism like that.
Well, so my understanding, and I admit that I haven't dug into this deep enough yet, but my understanding is they didn't ban it from a corporations cannot buy. They've banned it from a corporations cannot finance.
I see.
So it removed the easy money that the companies or corporations are
Well, what they're
using.
doing is they're taking single family homes out of the market for people that they want to put in a home. And if they're a competition for people that want to buy a home, that's ultimately that's the nuts of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is they felt like these companies were taking homes out from underneath people and outbidding them. And
You know,
that's right.
The funny thing about this whole mess that we're in with these corporations buying it was they never even had this idea on their own. It all came about after the crash of '08, when they had these giant tranches of homes that the banks had on the books that they wanted to sell. And they said, hey, could you buy these?
They begged them. They said it's going to be good for you. We'll give you all kind of breaks on it. If it wasn't for places like Blackstone and these big hedge funds, after the recession, no one would have bought homes. And I think the recession would have lasted longer. Now,
Absolutely.
in hindsight, I learned a lot from that. And that was, we all should have been buying homes after that period of time
I tell you
because
what,
they
man,
made massive gains.
I bought a few, but I didn't buy near enough.
Okay. One of those things, buy more and sell less.
That's right. That's
So
right.
listen, I think to wrap it all up here, I think we both agreed that the 401k thing needs to be ironed out. I think it's a good idea for home ownership, at least first time home ownership. How much the whole rental market or purchase market is impacted by corporations, it's probably a little less than people think it is.
Definitely.
But like I said earlier, the things that Trump does may not be one giant thing that moves the needle, but a lot of little things, like he was trying to do the 50-year mortgage and so forth. Well, you know what? You and I thought maybe when we first heard about that might be a good idea, but by the time you put the calculator to it, it didn't make as much sense as we really thought it did.
No,
So
no. I
they
do.
got
I
to be
do like,
ironed out.
you like the portable mortgage idea. I like that one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where that one stands in the grand scheme of things, but we'll see what
I'm
happens.
crazy about portable mortgages because I think that it would be difficult. I think it would be difficult for people in our industry too, because if you've got a 3.5% rate, why would you ever need any mortgage?
Well, yeah, you charge a fee to do substitution and collateral. So
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
stays with the same servicer then.
yeah,
The
you know,
wheels
the real
not turning.
problem.
The
Sure.
whole thing that makes this country so rich is that we move money around. When money becomes stagnant, nobody makes any. And here's the thing, and Trump nailed it. When America's doing great, you guys are all doing great. You know what makes America doing great? When you and I are doing great. Because when you are selling homes and I am doing mortgages, the plumber's busier, the car salesman selling more homes, everybody is making money when you and I are doing well. So we've got to get the housing industry back in order. And I think it's slowly getting there, but it could come a little bit faster as far as I'm concerned.
I sure would like it to be a little bit faster.
You have a
Hey,
great
Bruce,
week, man.
you have a great week as well, my friend.
All right. Thanks.